Good morning, Junior 4. Hope all of you are okay. Now let's start with concept 2. Concept 2 is talking about the foul. Um, we, uh, we studied the foul for 2 times before. The first time when we need to power the car, so we need foul to can operate or turn on or switch on the car. And also we studied before that we would use a coil, one of the types of the phone, to generate electricity or to produce electric energy. Now let's start with what is meant by phone. Phone means any substance that produces thermal energy when it is burned. Like what? Like coal, natural gas, and gasoline or oil. Okay, so any substance that we start to burn it to produce thermal energy, we can consider it as fuel. Okay. If we need coal, if we need natural gas, if we need gasoline, any form of these forms of the fuel, we can form or we can prepare from the primary source, which is the sun. So, sun is the main source of thermal energy. Why? Because after sun, we can prepare or produce the fuels so we can burn them and we can produce or get the thermal energy. I think these pictures can explain what are the main uses of the fuel. So for example, at the first picture, we have gas station and we also go to the gas station to refill the car with the fuel to can make the car continue to move. So in the gas station, we need the fuel. In our houses, we also need fuel, which is natural gas, to can make our cooks. So we also need at houses or at homes, we also need natural gas to can use them in cooking. This picture, we can use coal in two uses. Number one, maybe to also make our food or to make cooking, and at the same time, we can use coal to feeling warm. Okay, so they are the most commonly uses for the fuels in our daily lives. Warming, running transportations means to operate our transportations, and transportations here means cars, buses, minibuses, and so on. And generating electricity or produce electricity, okay? They must be full in the car to move again after it stops, where the fuel burns inside the car, especially inside the engines, to produce thermal energy that is converted into kinetic energy, which could the car to move. So here we need fuel inside the cars, which we go where we go to the gas station to refill from it the fuel. Then fuel started to burn inside the engine. After that, produce thermal energy, converted into kinetic energy, made the two tires of the car start to move. So we can move the car, okay? So let's solve this small evaluation. Put true and false. Cars need a source of energy to move, so it will be correct. The fuel burns inside the car engine, allowing the engine to rotate the wheels will also be correct. Okay. Now, let's make small summary for the most important uses for the fuels. We have very different or a lot of different forms of fuels, and each form has its own uses. But now we will concentrate with the most important uses for the fuels with the most common forms of the fuel. Number one, cooking food. We can cooking the food by using coal, natural gas, or wood. Number two, generating electricity. We also can generate electricity by using more than one form of the fuels. The more common or the what we studied before is the coal, but now we can add oil and natural gas. We can use both of them also to generate or produce electricity in the electric power stations. Number three, warming, and we can feel warm by using only two sources from the four sources or the four forms. So we can use wood and coal only to feel warm. Finally, operating all means of transportation, and we said that transportations like cars, buses, minibuses, and so on. So we can operate, which means we can make the transportations move by using gasoline or oil. Gasoline is oil. Both of them are the same, okay? So we can say gasoline or oil. Gasoline or oil and natural gas, both of them are used to operate or turn on the transportations, okay? Now we will take one example or one form of the fuels, which is coal, and we start to make two energy chains from the coal to make two different purposes. Don't forget that we saw before what's meant by energy chain, and we said that energy chain means sequence or arrangement of the energies when we started to use any device. So now we will start with two energy chains. Both of them start to explain how we can start from the coal and how we can end with two different uses for the coal at the same time. So to can make or produce coal, at the first we need light energy from the sun. Why? It can help the green plants to prepare their own food. So now let's start with light energy from the sun. Light energy is converted into chemical energy. Why? Because after the green plants start to prepare their own food by themselves, they started to convert light energy from the sun into chemical energy stored inside them. After that, these green plants started to be die. Then we started to bury them rapid, which means that we will put them inside the soil. After large time, maybe reach to million of years, we said that trees converted into coal. So now light energy transfer from the green plants into the coal. So now we start with the chemical energy stored inside the coal, also like what happens before inside the green plants. After that, we started to burn the coal. So burning the coal make or produce thermal energy. Now we have thermal energy can be used to make our cooking. So now we set the energy chain for the use of the coal in cooking. On the other hand, we will say the energy chain that is responsible for generating electricity. Number one, we also need light energy to make the green plants prepare their own food by themselves. After that, these green plants started to die. Then we started to bury them inside the soil. Then green plants converted into coal with the same chemical energy, which is stored inside the green plants. Also, it will be stored inside the coal. After that, we will start to burn the coal to produce or to convert chemical energy into thermal energy. After that, this thermal energy produce steam or water vapors to move the turbines. Then Thermal energy is converted into kinetic energy in the electric power station, which is used to produce or generate electrical energy, is transferred through electric wires. And don't forget, electric wires, all electric wires are made of copper. Why? To allow electric energy to pass inside or to flow inside them. Okay? Okay. Now, let's solve this small evaluation. Before that, take a small note which say that gasoline is a fuel that is made from oil. Okay, we will study after that in details the formation of each type of the fuel, coal, gasoline, and natural gas in details. Okay. Complete the following sentence by using the words inside the box. Fuel is used as a source of which form of energy? Thermal energy. Burning of what and what allow cars to move. So burning of gasoline or oil and natural gas allow cars to move. Okay, number 3, natural gas and what are used as resources of thermal energy for cooking. So it will be natural gas and cook. If we have wood, so we can use also wood. Okay. Now let's start with lesson 2. Types of fuel. What are the types of the fuel? We have 2 types of the fuel: biofuel and fossil fuel. Biofuel and fossil fuel. And don't forget that we said biofuel, bio comes from living organisms, okay? Biofuel comes from living organisms. Fossil fuel, living organisms also, but we have a small process before we take or before we produce the fuel, which is decomposition of living organisms. So biofuel means living organisms. Fossil fuel means decomposition of living organisms. Okay. Now let's start with the first form, biofuel. It is a fuel that is produced from living organisms that can be planted. Unit 4, don't forget that we have 2 types of organisms: living organisms and non-living organisms. Living organisms like what? Like human, plant, and animals. Non-living, like anything that surrounds us can't be grown. Like what? Like table, desk, pen, pencil, computers, laptops, cell phones, and so on. So now we will talk about all living organisms, okay? Especially living organisms that can be planted and sea animals, okay? So it is a fuel that is produced from living organisms that can be planted. So biofuel related to living organisms like green plants only, okay? Okay, so the primary source for sure for the biofuel will be the sun. Why? Because sun is the primary source that we can or that it can help the green plants to prepare their own food. Okay. For example, wood, grass, corn, and wood chips. So we have 4 examples about biofuel: wood chips, grass and corn. Wood chips, grass and corn. Wood chips, grass and corn. Wood, for sure you know what's meant by the wood. The lower parts of the tree or the trunk of the tree. Okay. Wood chips, it will be wood, but the wood is cutting into small pieces, like the chips that we eat, like that. So chips means small pieces, okay? Grass and corn. Grass small green plants that will be in the ground of the garden, and corn, popcorn, but before it will be popcorn, we have the corn, okay? So we have, for example, our biofuel, wood chips, grass and corn, wood chips, grass and corn, okay? All of them are examples about biofuel. Why? Because we can get all of them directly from any living organisms that can be planted, any living organisms that can be planted. Okay. Don't forget that wood is the oldest fuel. Wood is the beginning fuel that we start with. The beginning biofuel, to be more focused, or the oldest fuel that is still used. It's the beginning, and we still use it around all the world, especially in warming and cooking the food, But grass, corn, and wood chips recently can be used to make almost a liquid fuel. Liquid fuel like what? Like that we will study after that, okay? Liquid, you know what's meant by liquid, like water, something liquid, okay? Now, we start to know that, by the way, biofuel are available for sure, but you have to also be rationalized, or to be decreased, or to conserve the uses of the biofuel, which means that we have to make specific rules, or to put a specific rules. Why? Because biofuel comes from the trees, but you have to know that these trees need some of years to can grow and to can be something like maximum height and so on. Okay, so using wood as a source of energy requires cutting down for trees. For sure, we can't use the wood from the tree directly without cut the tree. So we have at the first to cut the tree to get the wood. Okay. After that, if the using of the wood is increasing, so the cutting of the trees will also increase. So we started to make rapid cutting down for trees. What's meant by rapid? Rapid means fast cutting down for the trees. And by this way, we make something known as deforestation. What's meant by deforestation? Frustration comes from forest. You know that forest is a place that full with green plants, large trees, grass, and so on. When we started to make cut down for these trees very fast, without wait until we can replace these trees, or planting another trees instead of that we started to cut down. So this will make something called deforestation. Okay, so deforestation means rapid cutting down for the trees, and for sure it will be something so negative and cause also negative effects on the environment. Why? Because when we started to cut down the trees by rapid way or by fast way, so we can't consume, or we can't replace these green plants. And we studied before that green plants help us to decrease the ratio of carbon dioxide and increase the ratio of oxygen, or to keep the ratio of oxygen maintained, or to consume the oxygen gas that we started to use in breathing. Okay, so make the air clear. So by rapid cutting down for the trees, so the ratio of carbon dioxide will increase and the ratio of oxygen will decrease, and for sure will cause negative effects for us, will make suffocation for us. And we studied before, suffocation means difficulty in breathing, okay? So number 3 will be the wood we use should be rationalized by a continuous way so that it will not run out. Okay, so we have to make it by rules or by specific steps. Okay. Number 2, fossil fuel. What's meant by fossil fuel? We said that fossil fuel also comes from living organism, but not by direct way, by indirect way, or we need a process before we produce fossil fuel. So fossil fuel, it's a fuel that is produced from all living organisms, like what? Plants and animals, or animals that were buried and decomposed over long period of time. So green plants to can plant, we need some of years, like our life cycle. So we said around 80 to 90 maybe years old, okay? But fossil fuel needs million of years, so it needs long period of time. But don't forget that also the primary source of the fossil fuel also will be sun, because we said that living organisms like plants and animals, so we also need sun. What are the examples? What are the examples for the fossil fuel? We have 3 examples: oil, natural gas, and coal. Don't forget that oil and natural gas are formed when the remains of marine organisms like sea animals be dead and decomposed. Okay, so coal and natural gas come from animals or sea animals or marine organisms. Okay, coal is formed when the remains of the green plants. So green plants comes from plants. Oil and natural, coal comes from green plants, and oil and natural gas are formed due to the presence of sea animals. Okay. Okay. Now let's start with how the coal is formed. We need very long time. From 300 million years ago, large areas of the earth were covered with a lot of amount of water, okay? With a lot of plants growing near to this area. After that, when those plants died, their remains were decomposed and covered by hundreds of meters of mud and rocks. So at the first, green plants died, okay, or died. Then the remains of the green plants started to put inside the water, inside the soil, I'm sorry, and covered with mud and rocks. Covered with mud and rocks mean period, okay? After that, after 300 million of years, the process of decomposition is done due to the effect of extreme heat and pressure. Those remains were turned into coal. You know for sure what's meant by temperature. Temperature means the degree of hotness or coldness of the person. So inside the soil, in the bottom of the soil, there is high heat and at the same time pressure. Pressure means press, okay? So as the green plants started to move inside the soil, the press of the components of the soil and the surrounding air will also increase. So we can say that there will be a specific conditions or a suitable conditions to convert green plants into cool. So now you know what's meant by conditions. Conditions like the effect of heat and pressure. Conditions mean the atmosphere will be available or will be suitable to make this convert from from green plants, to cool, okay? So we need million of years. Here we said that we need 300 million of years to convert the green plants into cool. So for sure here we need to conserve our uses for the fossil fuel. So fossil fuel like coal, oil, and natural gas take millions of years to be formed, and they are consumed faster than they are formed, which means that if we need to use a piece of coal, so we can use it in one day, for example, okay? But if we need to consume or replace this piece of coal by new one, we need millions of years to can make that, okay? So we have to rationalize our uses for everything that's around us to make it to don't allow it to run out, okay? Now we said that we have biofuel which need amounts or small short period of years to can replace it. So if we use the wood from the trees, we need few years to can replant another one. But in case of fossil fuel, we need long period of time. We need millions of years to can replace it. So that's why we will have two types of energy resource. We have renewable and non-renewable. And don't forget that renewable, we have three parts of renewable. We have renew and able. So renewable means that we can make something for the second time, like rewrite, rearrange. So always refers to something that we will make for the second time, new, something that will be new, something that will be not old, we will replace. Okay, able, that we can't do that. So renewable means that we will replace the old one by the new one for the second time. Okay, non-renewable, it will be like that, renew and able, but before we will add none, which make negative for the thing. So we can't replace this object for the second time by using a new one. Okay, so we have renewable and non-renewable. What's meant by renewable? They are natural resources that can be placed after a short period of time, such as water, solar energy, and wind energy. Water and solar energy and wind energy, all of them, if we talk from them sources of energy, we can replace for the next time or for the next day by using the new sources of energy also. For example, if we have solar car, so we will take the sun or we will take the solar energy from the sun for today. If we finish this solar energy, so we can refill the solar panels with solar energy for the next day with new solar energy. So this means that it will be renewable. Wind energy, like fans, we always see fans in the highway road because there is a very strong wind in this way, so we can convert the wind energy, which make the hands or the arms of the fan move. So we have now kinetic energy. We can convert it into from the kinetic energy into electric energy. Okay. Renewable energy resources are those that continuously renew or replace the part of that has been consumed or used, so they will be not run out. Okay. But non-renewable means they are natural resources that are used at a rate faster than they can be replaced. Rate here means Junior 4, the duration or the time that we need to use the non-renewable energies, it will be faster than the rate that we need or the time that we need to replace them, like coal, natural gas, and oil. We use them very fast. But if we need to replace them, we need millions of years. So non-renewable energy resources are those that are run out when consumed and cannot be renewable in a short period of time for the second time. This means that all fossil fuel that we use, like coal, natural gas, and oil, are formed from millions of years ago. So we have to rationalize how we can use all of them. By the way, we have to rationalize any form of energy that we use right now in our days today, okay? Biofuel, don't forget that biofuel will be from the renewable fuels. Why? Because we can replace them again in a short period of time, but fossil fuel, for sure, there will be non-renewable energy. Why? Because once it's consumed, it runs out faster than it can be renewed, okay? So we have to conservation of a fossil fuel. Why? Because non-renewable fossils should be conserved and alternative resources should be found. Alternative means replaced or another forms of energy have to be formed to placed or to can use instead of coal, oil, and natural gas, because once they are run out, so we can't operate our cars, we can't be cooking the food inside the homes, we can't generate electricity, and we can't imagine our life without electricity for sure. So we have to start to search for alternative resources to replace those who will be run out as soon as, okay? Let's solve this small complete the following sentence using these words. What's meant by biofuel? It's a type of fuel that is formed from green plants or living organisms that can be planted. Primary source will be the sun. Renewable or non-renewable, for sure biofuel will be renewable. The examples were that wood, wood chips, grass, and coal. Fossil fuel, it's a type of fuel that is formed from the remains of living organisms where it takes millions of years to be formed under the specific conditions, and we explain what's meant by conditions. Primary source will be also sun, so biofuel and fossil fuel, both of them, the primary source is the sun. It will be non-renewable, and our examples are natural gas, oil, or gasoline, and coal, okay? All oil and water are considered from resources that are used by humans to generate electricity. How we can produce electric energy from water due to the motion of the water, like the high dam in Aswan. We depend on it, on the motion of the water that form kinetic energy to generate electric energy, and oil like gasoline, okay? But for sure, oil and water are totally different in the structure. And for sure, also oil will be from non-renewable resources, but water renewable resources, okay? Formation of oil. Oil is extracted from the underground as a result of decomposition. We said that due to the sea animals or marine organisms. When these sea animals die, their remains stay in the ground of the ocean or the ground of the floor. Over millions of years, these layers start to covered by specific rocks, which is called sedimentary rocks. Okay, covered the remains of these. Of those marine organisms. This results in extreme heat will cause specific conditions. What are the conditions? Extreme heat and pressure. So over millions of years, the oil will be formed. Okay. How we can conserve the uses of oil and how we can conserve the uses of water. Conservation of oil. Oil is consumed at a rate greater and faster than the production of oil. We said that we can use the oil for if we start to refill the car with oil for full tank, so we can use for maybe 1 week. But if we can need to replace that, so we need millions of years. So it should be rationalized in order to avoid running out through many ways, such as reducing the use of private cars. We have to reduce means decrease the use of our private cars, and we have to depend on the public means of transportation. Water, one of the forms of renewable forms, but also we have to rationalize and to be careful when we use it. People should use water carefully and rationalize its using through many ways by avoid wasting or polluting the water because we may not be able to replace it as quickly we need. The number of us increases, so the needs of water will also, or the needing of water will also increase. So we need large amounts of water. So we have to also rationalize to make sure that this amount will cover the number of people. Growing plants that don't need large amount of water for irrigation. Irrigation means planting. Okay. Now let's solve this small evaluation. Over time, the remains of marine organisms are covered into, as a result of extreme, covered into the ground. Okay, or covered into the ocean floor. Heat and pressure. We said that pressure means press. Oil is a what energy resource, while water is what? Oil is renewable. I'm sorry, non-renewable. Non-renewable. But water, renewable. Using of what and reducing the use of what are from ways to conserve the oil. So using of private, using of public. Transportations. And reducing means decrease of uses of private cars. Okay. Oil is extracted from three animals or remains of marine organisms as a result of decomposition of marine organisms. Okay. Here we can say C, not C, C in general. Thank you, Junior, and see you for the next session.